to the Bayview Podcast with hosts Andrew Clark and Chris Emery. This is designed to be a discussion on all things life and faith. We hope this serves as a weekly resource and encouragement to you.
What's going on, everybody? It's your host, Andrew Clark, back again with another podcast, joined as always by the Regal. Is that a word?
Regal?
Is that like an important... I'm trying to think of a word that would like shows importance.
Regal. That feels way outside my pay grade.
I felt like a sailor captain.
I think, or royalty from England, or no.
Yeah, okay, backtrack.
Not infamous.
Joined as always by the infamous Chris Emery.
I don't know. Some people are like, yeah, that dude is totally infamous. So,
how are you?
Good, man. Welcome to the Bayview Podcast. So good to be here as always. And, man, we just really look forward to this time with all of you. Midweek, just a little pick-me-up, a little conversation. Each week, maybe a little something different. I don't know. It's just been good.
Yeah.
We're here well into fall. The leaves are dying, and the red is warning us of what's coming.
Yep.
That's how I look at it.
Yep. We're in, what do they call it, like fake second summer or whatever it's called, like that last little like Hail Mary of a hot streak, and the cold's coming though.
Yeah, as of today, while we're recording, I don't know what it'll be like when we're drop this episode, but as of today, recording day, it is hot.
Yeah, 80-some degrees.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. I'm not complaining. I love it. But, yeah, we know this is kind of the last gasp.
Yeah.
Of our super warm weather, but it's all good. We love where we live. Blessed to be here. So, hey, blessed to not just be live with you today on the podcast, but we are blessed to and excited. Blessed is such a churchy word. I'm sorry. That's so churchy.
We're pumped.
We're blessed, brethren, to be together. No, we are. We're pretty stoked to have an awesome friend and guest, member of our church, vice chairman of our board.
Wow.
I know.
I didn't even know that.
Oh. So many titles are going into this right now.
He is regal.
He is regal, yes. Yes, he is regal. From Freedom Builders, we are excited to have Joe Rodgers with us. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me out here.
Yeah, man. I'm so glad you came up. So quick question. I think I know the answer to this, but quick question. Have you ever been on a podcast before?
Never.
All right. Have you ever spoken into a microphone with headphones on before?
I have not.
All right.
No, so this is all new.
This is all new.
I don't appear on camera. I don't public speak. I like to be behind the scenes. I'm good with that.
Well, one of the advantages of this is that there's not an audience in the room.
That's true.
And so the pressure's off.
Yeah.
You know, don't worry about the thousands of times it'll be heard. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
Right. The tens of times.
the dozen listeners that will take this in. No.
Yeah, that's all right.
No, that's good. Well, we appreciate you being willing to do this. And while we do different things on our podcast of kind of being a resource to our listeners, we always count it such a cool opportunity when we have a chance just to have a guest and just to talk a little bit about not just what you do, but we're certainly much more interested in who you are and what God is doing in you. But we will start with kind of the big picture stuff. You work for Freedom Builders, and although a lot of people may be very familiar, some may not, give us maybe the quick 30,000 foot view of who is Freedom Builders, what's the mission, what do you do?
All right. Yeah, so Freedom Builders, we're a nonprofit Christian organization. We service 5 counties, so that's 5,200 square miles. Within that square footage, there is, give or take, 27,000 people that are at or below poverty level. So at any time could give us a call and be in need of something. We are kind of a last resort, a situation of there are no other organizations out there that can help these people because either they fall into a category that is either too much money, not enough money, or whatever the case may be. Some of them are, they need a wheelchair ramp to get into the home, to get a loved one home, end of days kind of thing. And so they're on a time crunch, and getting a normal contractor in there is just not possible. Mm-hmm. So we're blessed enough to be able to do that. We get zero government funding. Everything we do is private donors and local churches that believe in what we do. So it's kind of a great blessing that we do have so many donors that say, hey, you know what? We believe in you guys and we want to give to that. So in the end, it doesn't cost our clients anything.
Right.
And in the meantime, too, it's a good gateway for us. It's an open door, essentially. We get to go in, spread the love of Christ, tell them a little bit about him, give them some hope. You know, somebody who might have, they're at the end of their ropes. They have no more hope left in life. And here comes a bunch of strangers that don't know them from anybody. And they're coming in to do work and hopefully make their lives a little bit easier and a little bit better.
That's cool.
So with that too, there's 3 of us on staff, and so we rely heavily on our volunteers. We've got a small knit group of volunteers that are we call our regulars. They come out at least once a week and work with us, and then we've got our churches that we try and connect with and work with. Over the summer, we get a lot of youth groups that can come out and work. So it's kind of a neat thing. We get to empower people to go out and disciple and work for these people.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I know I've been on a couple of your job sites over the years, and several. So you mentioned wheelchair ramps. I've been there for a couple wheelchair ramps. Yep. They don't let me run the saw.
Yeah, you're supposed to be over 18 or 5'6",
or show some level of capability. I don't know. They had me counting nails. I don't know what that was doing, but it said 50 on the box. Count them again. No. But I have been there for some of that. But I've been out there for some pretty extreme home makeovers. So kind of give us the 2 ends of the spectrum. What's the simplest side of things of what you've done? What's the most extreme you've done?
All right. Well, the wheelchair ramps, we average about 60 of those a year. That we'll put in, and those are our quick projects, if you will. Usually, we get rolling by 9 in the morning, and most of them are done before lunchtime.
Right. Wow.
They're up, and these people are able to get in and out of their house now. And then to that opposite end, we've gone through, and there have been houses that have either needed to be gutted or were gutted. And like last year, we walked in on one that somebody had gone in, took all of the walls off, all of the floors out, so it was just studs and joists through the entire place. It was just the shell. And so we went in and we redid the subfloor, put up new wall, paneling on the walls, made sure there was good insulation, laid some carpet, laid some snap flooring. Neither of the bathrooms those were completely gutted, so we had 2 toilets, 2 showers, 2 vanities, complete kitchen. This house was literally just a shell from front to back, and I would say we had 3.5 working days, and we had that house finished, and the client could move back into their own home.
That's amazing.
3 days?
Yeah.
You were saying all that, I'm like, I could never.
I will say the first day we had a really big crew, so we got a real good jump start on it. But after that, it was just putting the finishing touches in, hanging cabinets, and it was cool. It was really neat to see how everybody just came together. Sure. And the client was even able to come in, and she wasn't physically able to help do everything, but she was there with us.
That's cool.
So we were able to just share with her all day long, talk with her, hear her struggles, pray with her. That's you talked about on Sunday. Prayer is the biggest thing, and we start every project with a prayer every time.
Love it.
Without fail, because without the prayer, without God, we're not really accomplishing much.
Yeah.
And we get reminded, if we forget to pray before we get started, things get really, really tough, really, really fast. So it's one of those, it's like, man, why is this so hard? We didn't pray this morning. Let's stop, let's pray, and then the rest of the day just goes smooth.
Well, I think one of the great things about what you do is that the mission is not about fixing the home.
Correct.
That's the avenue or the method to which you utilize in order to share hope, share the gospel, share Jesus with these people. I've been there. I've watched it. It's a beautiful thing to see just the genuine heart behind everyone at Freedom Builders and the teams that are out there. You have been with Freedom Builders for how long?
2 years now.
2 years. So All right, so let's backtrack out of that. So 2 years, I mean, you're I know you're one of their. I know you are the dude. I know that it's like without Joe, we're in trouble. But you didn't obviously 2 years. So yeah, tell us a little bit about who you are, how you got through where you are in life, how you got to here.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess you want me to go all the way back, like
I mean,
my story,
I mean,
or how do you want to go?
Yeah, go as far back as you want.
All right. Well, I mean, I was raised in a Christian household. Brought up, we went to church every Sunday. My mom played piano every Sunday. My dad sang. We were involved in the church in many aspects through most of my life. I hit my teens, late teens, early 20s, and as most of us do, I said, well, I don't need church. I know God. I have a relationship. We're cool. We're tight. I don't need to go to church on Sunday.
Right.
I can sleep in. That's my one day to sleep in. I don't need that. And so, as time went on, life went astray. Went through some difficult times, bouncing jobs. And then I got myself into a factory job that was surely by accident. It was just I was looking for the next job. Got into a factory job that ended up spending 10 years there.
Wow.
And while I was there, I met my now wife. And she actually kind of steered me back and was like, hey, if we're going to get married and start a family, we need God, period. Without it, we're dead in the water. And a part of me always knew that, and I was still a little reluctant. I went, okay, yeah, sure, we can go to church on Sundays. We can get back to that. But through the years, the highs and the lows, the ups and the downs, and it was like no matter what we did, if we were straying away from God or church for any amount of time, it was like that was where we were hitting our lowest of lows always. So through a lot of just, conversation and talk and working things out as a couple, we realized, what? No, we got to put God first. And without, if we put him first, everything else just falls in line. Cool. And it did. And with that, so I started we hopped churches for a little bit. Landed in Bayview, just on a whim. Our oldest son, Cooper, he was doing the summer program here. And so we were like, well, let's give them a shot. We haven't been there yet. And we walked in and saw so many familiar faces we had no idea were attending here. Immediately felt comfortable, welcomed, brought in, felt like it was home.
Cool.
And, we thought, we'll try a couple, or we'll bounce a little bit. And I think we bounced maybe 3 times, and we're like, no, this is home. We got more involved in the church, and as time progressed, I started realizing that factory life and church life are very hard to coordinate together. They just don't go together. I always thought, all right, now that I'm here, my mission is, to bring this factory to Christ. I'm going to be that warrior. And a bunch of older guys that work in a factory don't want to hear about that. They either already know about it and have made up their mind, or they just straight up don't want to know. So through discussions with some locals, I was in a men's group, and one of the guys there offered me a job. Said, hey, why don't we get you out of that factory and get you a different job? So I thought, okay, why not? Let's try a different avenue. It's been 10 years of the same thing. Let's change it up. So jumped in on that, and it just wasn't jiving. It just was not for me. The type of work it was just didn't line up with who I am. Right. It just physically, mentally, it wasn't me. So I was kind of quietly searching for something else, and a few people from Bayview were in the staff meeting when you announced, Chris, that Freedom Builders is looking for a new employee if you happen to know anybody. Well, 2 of those staff members immediately got out of the meeting, went and got my wife, who works in the daycare here, and said, hey, you need to call your husband, and he needs to get a hold of Chris now. So, and she didn't have a whole lot of details. She called me. She goes, I don't know what's going on, but you need to call Chris, and you need to call him now.
Wow.
And so I did, and you got me in touch with Skip, and, it just, from there, as they say, I guess the rest is history. Yeah. I haven't looked back once. It's been great.
That is good. That's so cool. It's, well, you know, and sometimes it's just those God ordained conversations, because it was, I remember that week, I think I was having breakfast with somebody from Freedom Builders, and they like, hey, just, you know, if you know of anybody, just kind of be praying with us. And I pretty casually brought it up at the staff meeting, like, hey, if you guys know anybody, really think in my mind, like, it very rarely do I throw that bait in the water and it goes anywhere, but keep throwing it out there. And so the way that all progressed so quickly, I think it was obviously very clearly just kind of this cool hand of God thing, guiding Freedom Builders together, because it takes a very unique person. I've hung out with several members of your team over the years, and it's not just a matter of having the skill set to do what you do, but it's having the heart behind it. There's plenty of guys that probably have the know-how to go in there and fix these things, but it's not going to leave that mark of that mark of hope,
Right?
And that you're not alone. It's not going to leave that impression the way Jesus can. So, you know, it's a very unique person that can do what you're doing, without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, and we go in. We don't care if they remember us when we walk out the door. That's we're not there for, oh yeah, remember Joe? He's the guy that came in and fixed this and made it all right. No, I was just the hands and feet of God.
That's right.
He sent me there. He gave me the talents and abilities to do it. And then I left, with leaving them with a prayer and just hoping that even if they, you know, just plant that little seed that will hopefully grow. And, you know, and that's like Skip will say many times, we don't care about building the ramp. We don't care about fixing the floor, whatever the job is. We really just kind of don't care about that part of it.
Right.
We are there because we care about the people. We care about spreading the love of Christ. And if that's our gateway to get in to do that, is replacing a toilet or putting in a new window, whatever we'll take it. That's, you know, that's what we're called to do, is to be disciples and go out and bring people to Christ.
Where did you, just with the skill set, because being around Freedom Builders a little bit, it's like re-roofing a house, to putting in a toilet, to replacing the window, to doing the floor, like, where did you learn that on the job, or have you just known that kind of stuff, or what's that been like?
Well, I guess going back right before I started at the factory, me and my dad had a remodeling business together. And so I learned a lot of those skills through doing that with my dad, and he was just an old timer that him and his dad, you know, it was just how they did. They grew up, and you fixed your own stuff. It was not, okay, I need to call somebody. I have the capabilities to climb up on that roof and throw some shingles, or, you know, fix the broken door or whatever it is. And so I was lucky enough, he passed that on to me, taught me a lot of stuff. And so, and one thing with like the toilets and the plumbing and the other things, plumbing has always been a big thing for me that I didn't want nothing to do with it. I didn't want to learn it. I didn't want to touch it. It was like, I don't want to mess that up and flood somebody's house out or whatever. And that little job that got me out of the factory was doing plumbing.
Wow.
Which looking back, it was like, why did I ever leave to go do plumbing? Something I hate. And in retrospect, you know, it was like, well, God was getting me out of that factory where I was comfortable. It was cushy. Right. I had it easy. And he said, okay, I'm going to get you out of there. I'm going to make you do something you don't really enjoy so you can learn to get you into where you are now.
Awesome.
So crazy.
And I couldn't see it as it was going on. I mean, was 3 months of just, why am I doing this? I don't know why I left that factory. What am I doing? Yeah. And then after 3 months and starting, and it was like, oh man, I know how to do all this plumbing stuff now. I know how to fix that. I can do that. Yeah. And so it was like, man, that was just so cool to look back and say, all right, he definitely had his hand on that for sure. Yeah.
It's like crazy, like he has a plan or something for our lives.
Yeah,
it's just like
maybe he does.
Yeah, maybe like he knows what he's doing. I don't
possibly, know. Yeah. You know, I don't know.
I think that's so much of our faith journey for all of us, is that it's not just having faith that God can or that He will, but it's having faith that in the moment God knows what He's doing. And that's where I know I've struggled with that. Like, okay, God, listen, I know you're all over my past. You were really good there, and I know you're almighty. I know you've got all this stuff in order, but right here in this moment, do I have the faith that God knows what He's doing in the immediate? And we can't see it. There's no way you can see that. There's obviously, we've kind of joked this way before, that would it have been easier if God had come to you and be like, all right, Joe, listen, we're going to talk. I need you to do this plumbing thing for 3 months, because in 3 months you're going to be over this other job. You're going to need a little bit of these skills. So now, that obedience would be so much easier,
Oh, sure.
but your faith wouldn't grow. And so I think that that's such a cool part of that story, is that God was master chess player, 7 moves ahead all the time.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's who he is.
Well, and I mean, I never saw myself doing anything ministry related.
Yeah.
I mean, I always had a relationship with Christ. That was always a part of my life to a point, but being in ministry, I just didn't think that was for me. And here I am. I'm running or working for Freedom Builders Missions, which is a big ministry. I'm part of the board here, which I really never saw that coming. And then stepped into the co-chair. It's like, whoa, okay, so I guess I'm really just all in on ministry now. That's my new life.
Well, but that's what God does, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, I think your story lines up so well with that idea of faith truly being like trusting the bigger picture. And I think so often it's a natural thing to be like, the right here, right now, what's in front of me, what can I see? And I just, we all have the stories of just walking through some really weird or difficult or strange or mundane times, and it's just like, how does your faith stay, or how do you respond? But it is that. It's like, no, I'm trusting there's a bigger picture of all this. There's something going on, and fast forward 2 years, it's like, like you said, I would have never thought this.
Right.
And yeah, that's just, I don't know. I think that's beautiful. Like, I think it's like such a powerful like testimony to just faith, and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think your story is really cool too, because it lines up with, I've been part of youth groups who have worked with Freedom Builders, and I think Chris hit it with like, it takes a really special person, because working with teenagers, the idea of chainsaws and nails and dangerous things and roofs, and then 15 teenagers show up and you are like teaching at the same time you're helping. Like, it's such like it really is a special thing to witness. And I just, fast forward X amount of years now working with teens, I'm just like, I can't imagine that they let 14-year-old Andrew carry a bag of shingles up a ladder onto a roof and handed me a nail gun. And we're like, all right, here goes nothing. That takes a special kind of person. But I think of like your story, like your dad and that teaching and just the learning. Like, do you feel like that comes natural for you, that desire to teach and that desire to?
It didn't used to. To be honest, teaching was never an easy thing for me, because I was always that person that, all right, do this, and then just just stop. I'll just do that. Just watch me do this. All right, now try it again. No, just let me do it again. And so I've had to step back, and that's one of those on the job things that I've had to learn is I need to step back and let them mess up. I mean, because what's the worst that happens? I got to take a couple extra nails out and redo a small thing. I mean,
well, I don't know. I know little Johnny that forgot his meds might staple his hand to the wall, but other than that,
I mean, we do pretty good on making sure we watch.
To the hospital. I mean,
we know which ones are the the Andrews and which ones are the Chris's. We kind of pick them out first thing, and we're like, all right, you get to carry heavy things, and you get to bring me
the paint.
Yes,
sit here and stir paint. We're not painting anything today, but sit here and stir paint.
Yeah. So, but it's and it's cool though to see how those kids can come together. I think we had over the summer a football team come out, and that's their coach believes in the ministry, has a big heart for it, and really wanted to he brings his team out, and hey, we're going to do a project. He brought, and normally, he'll bring in the teens worth of kids. This year, he showed up with 33 high school boys.
Wow.
And we stripped and weathered in a roof by lunchtime.
No way. That's crazy.
They just jumped up there and they're like, what do we do? I'm like, well, here's the shovels. Just start peeling shingles. See that trailer down there? Throw them off into it. Yeah. And they just scattered and they got it done.
Wow.
They just crushed it.
That's so cool.
And it was just so cool to see. And then, the homeowner was home, so they got to have a chance to sit and chat with him. Coach went and bought a bunch of pizzas and brought them back. So the homeowner came out, had pizza with us while we all sat and chatted, and some of the kids were able to share with them and talk. And it was just so neat to see a secular school come out to do a Christian mission and share and be a part of it. And So it's really cool to see those kind of things come together, and and it's not all just local stuff either. We got a youth group that comes up from Portage down by Kalamazoo. They come up every year for a week. We've had some out of Indiana. We've had them spread out where they're coming from all over the place to come up here for 3 days, week, whatever, to work with Freedom Builders, which is just incredibly fun. You get to meet these kids, you get to see, and like with some of the youth groups that have come multiple times, like I'm seeing some of the same kids coming back and seeing how they're growing and how their faith is changing and becoming.
Oh yeah,
that's cool.
Which is so cool.
And you're introducing them to that whole concept of what we read in Matthew 25. Of like, listen, you saw this, you saw this, you saw this. You did nothing, you did nothing, you did nothing. Or you saw this, you saw this, you saw this, and you did something. You did something. You did something. Yeah. And although, again, it comes back to, it's not about the nails in the wall, but it's about using the nails in the wall as a path to share Jesus. And that's what this is. It's sharing this love of Jesus. Because I know one thing that Freedom Builders communicates very clearly to these homeowners is there's no strings attached. There's no bill coming later. Yeah. There's no ulterior motive. Right. This is just a random act of love that we want to do for you. And that's what blows them away so much.
Yeah, and that's every time when we stop to pray in the morning, we invite them to come pray with us. If we're going to be there for the full day and they're around for when we break for lunch, whether we have a meal to share or not, a lot of times that, we've had some clients, they'll bring us a meal. Yeah. Other ones, they'll just bring out their sandwich while we're sitting outside having ours. We pray together again over our meal. And then before we leave, we get a chance to pray with them and just after learning more about them, hearing more of their story. And, maybe it's a cancer patient. Maybe it's whatever the case may be. And we can sit and we can specifically pray with them, for them, over them as a group. And it's just... cool. To see these people, whether they're believers or not, you can see something moving. Yeah. And there's just nothing cooler than being able to see God moving. And then we get all these volunteers out that, and that's a lot of people, you're all paid. No, there's one of us out here right now that's paid. Everybody else showed up and gave up their free time because they just wanted to be here to love on you, show you what love really, really, truly is.
So cool. Yeah. It definitely reminds me of like Jesus washing the feet and that whole interaction he has with his disciples, and he's like basically like, guys, I've been talking about this and I've been showing you what it means to serve. Like, I didn't show up as a king and a conqueror. I showed up like this humble servant, and like the confusion that is there in Peter and some of those guys, and by the end he goes, I'm giving you this example so that you would go do it. And like there's so many times throughout Scripture how he's spending all this time with the people who we wouldn't think need to spend time with, or that we should, or all that kind of stuff. And it still came back to this idea of service. And like I think Freedom Builders, I think what you're doing like is such a great example of that in motion. Like that idea of just of serving those who need it and doing it in a way that is loving and caring. It's uplifting of them and encouraging of them. Like I think that's always like a key element to what Freedom Builders does. There's no judgment in what's happening and what you're doing. It is such a pure example, I think, of the servanthood and that humble servant mentality.
100%.
Well, and like you said, with the no judgment, we go in there and we don't. Your lifestyle is your lifestyle. Whatever, we all have a past. I mean, none of us perfect, period. We're all just a bunch of jacked up sinners that we're out in the world just trying to, and the cool thing is we get to go in and we get to break that stereotype of, oh, you're a Christian. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that I don't love you the same as I love you two. I mean, we love everybody is our neighbor. Everybody is our brother. Everybody's our sister. We're all in this together. And, whatever your circumstance is right now, we're just here to help, hopefully, to make it better and to bring some light into a rather dark area.
And that's such a huge alternative message to what is typical in the world. Going both ways, to be honest. I mean, I know that the church often gets this bad rap that we're judgmental, we're hateful, or that we're just here to fix you or change you, and then we'll accept you, whatever that may be. And I know that for those of us that kind of get it,
Right.
that is not how this goes. Love first, listen first, accept first. Through that opportunity, we hope that you meet Jesus, and Jesus will work on your life. Like, that's not our job. But it goes the other way around. The world in general is a very conditionally driven love acceptance world.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be loved and accepted if you believe like we believe, act like we act, agree with what we say, or whatever it may be. And so to come in and just be like, yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
We love you right where you are, how you are, no judgment. That's just so foreign. People can't get their mind around that.
Yeah.
And it's just so cool that not only are you doing it and you guys as Freedom Reels doing it, but I just can't imagine the resonating effects that happens as you have so many people every year in and year out, that come and join you in that mission, and then they take that experience home.
Right.
All those football players,
Yeah.
Say half of them don't come up from a Christian home. That means probably half of them have never done anything for anybody else.
Sure.
We're a pretty selfish society, but now they're all of a sudden doing something, giving up their time, genuinely with no reward other than what they're seeing it do for the other person. Man, that changes you.
Sure. Absolutely.
So I love that.
Yeah, and just getting to see that in them too.
Yeah.
Because and sometimes we might go on a job site, we may not be serving the client that day. I mean, we're obviously doing the work for them, but it might be the neighbor. The amount of times I've been approached by a neighbor who just says, "Why are you over here working for these guys? What is this about?
Yeah.
And what are you getting out of this?" Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to love on them. And you know what? While you're standing right here, I'm going to show you a little bit of that love too. Let's have a conversation. Well, let me tell you why we're here.
Yeah.
And they're all, and they come through and you guys are always so happy and you're laughing and you're hawking shingles on that roof. That's hard work.
Yeah.
And not a single one of you is even upset. You're just laughing and joking and having a good time. And because we got joy. We got the ultimate joy.
Yeah.
And if we can show the rest of the world that.
That's epic. That's awesome. You have, you maybe have I'm sure you've done hundreds of jobs at this point. Like, is there one that kind of always just sticks out? So you got to use names or
chair broke.
maybe not names, location, but is there like one, maybe two jobs that have just kind of been like, wow, like that? It just sticks in your mind.
Nothing. I mean, I guess nothing really particular. There have been a few, I made the comment about the wheelchair ramps are quick and we're in, we're out. But to see, we did one about a month ago, actually, that for a gal that she hadn't been out of the house in almost 2 years. She had no way to get out of the house. She was chair bound, and there was like 4 steps to get out. And they just had no way of getting her in or out of this house. So she just sat inside. Her groceries were brought to her. Like, she didn't do nothing. And so when we were all done and she was able to come out and go down that ramp, and just to see the joy and the freedom that was all of a sudden just, I get to leave my home without being carried down the stairs or whatever the case. Like, I can go out and just sit out front and enjoy some sunshine for the first time in 2 years.
Wow.
That one that we did that the whole house was gutted. This lady was living in like a Kwanzaa hut kind of thing next to the house because she was, she had the house, she moved away, so she was kind of renting it out. And when she moved back, she went to move back into it, and the whole place had just been gutted out.
Wow.
And so she's stuck, and it was like, okay, well, take the little bit of money I got, and I'm going to build a shed out back. And was living in this glorified shed, and then so we get the house built, and it's, just to see that, like, she walked in and she just, wow, I have a home again, and to see in that one too. I mean, like I said, we had a huge group come out that one day, and it was like, just to see everybody having those conversations and seeing her regaining hope, because, I could only imagine coming home to what you think is, oh, I'm just going to move back in and it'll be fine. And oh, now I'm going to live in a shed. And what am I ever going to do?
Wow.
And so, I pray that hopefully she's able, she's made a connection. That project we did with another local church, and so they did what we call a follow-up, and went back, had a conversation with her, and the idea hopefully was to get her connected with a church, that so she could have a church family, somebody to do life with, somebody to, share her problems, because we don't need to be through this alone. None of us are in this alone.
That's right.
So we might as well be brothers and sisters and go through it together, and hopefully that was what happened there. And I haven't heard, I heard they did the follow-up, and I know they had a great conversation. I haven't heard whether she's been attending or not, but did I even put that seed in there? That's what we care.
Absolutely.
That's the biggest part of it.
So if somebody's listening and they want to know more, learn more about Freedom Builders, or even get involved, what's an easy avenue for them to do that?
Well, so you can go onto our website. It's freedombuildersmissions.org.
Okay.
If you Google us, we're Freedom Builders of America. And then there's a submission form on there that you can fill out and let us know that you want to be involved. Otherwise, you can get in touch with your pastors. I think every pastor in this town has a connection to us in some way, shape, or form.
Cool.
So yeah, you can get a hold of us that way. Those are probably the two best avenues would be.
And if someone wants to donate, you guys are cool with that, or you'd rather not have donations? I'm kidding.
Yeah, there is a donation spot on there. You can monetarily donate. You can donate your time. You can, we got some local contractors that have hooked us up in the past, and then, that kitchen that we put in that big house, in that one house, was all donated material. It was a contractor that he had gone in, and his client said, oh yeah, this kitchen's only a couple years old, but I don't really like white anymore. I want to go with a blue or this or that. So we're going to tear everything out, put all new kitchen in. And he's going, this is a brand new kitchen. There ain't nothing wrong with this. So he called us up and said, hey, I'm going to take this out. You guys want it? So we were able to take that, and instead of having to spend cash on it, we were able to just take that material over and put in this new kitchen.
That's so cool.
So, we have, opportunities like that as well. And
I have a picture on my phone from one of your staff members, one of your former staff members, Mr. McDougal. It's a picture he sent me. We remodeled our kitchen about 3 years ago and took down all of our cabinets, which were great shape. They're older, but great shape. And I called Freedom Builders. I said, hey, can you guys use the kitchen? And Kelly's like, yeah, be there tomorrow. So he came, loaded it up. Yeah. And the cool thing is, the next week he sends me this picture of all of our kitchen cabinets hanging in this home, in this small trailer, I think, that a single mom was living in. Her ex-husband had come in and like a drunken fury had stripped this place out, like just gutted it out of anger and spite. Yeah. And it was just something really cool for my wife and I'd be like, wow, look at that. Those are our cabinets. That's incredible. And now it was just so cool for Freedom Builders to be that bridge. And so if you're listening and you're like, well, I can't swing a hammer and I don't have a lot of money, just think through that. Like, there's something you're replacing and it's in good shape. Now don't call Freedom Builders to come haul away your junk.
Please
I got
don't.
a broken washer. Can you use it? No, they can't use it. Stop. But there's always that opportunity for something we have to be a blessing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and that's the other thing is, if you want to volunteer your time and you say, hey, I can't swing a hammer, that's okay. You have the ability to talk to somebody. If you can sit with the client and love on them, even for, we might be on the project for 4 hours, even if you could give a half hour just to sit and devote time to this person. Yeah. We work with a lot of people who are elderly that they don't have a lot of people to talk to.
Right.
So, and when we're trying to do the work, we don't always have that time to set aside for that. So if there's somebody, if you said, hey, I can come and I can sit with them and just have a conversation and show them that, hey, you know what? We all care. Yeah. We're all here. Yeah, I can't swing a hammer. I don't know how to build, but I know how to love people. Yeah. That's cool. That's more important than anything I'm building. Yeah. For sure.
I have a ton of memories of, again, as like a teenager, like half the group like just playing with some of the kids
Oh yeah,
who were there, or like some of the
absolutely.
neighborhood kids, and like that was just like that was how the week was spent. Was like some of us were doing some of the work, and the other half was just kind of like loving on the surrounding area and the
Absolutely.
people and the family, and such a cool thing. I did have one last question.
Yeah, go for it.
So you talked about like 10 years at the factory job and just
Mhm.
kind of like doing your thing, being comfy, not sure what's next, feeling called out. You get in Freedom Builders, find joy and just love what you're doing.
Mhm.
Maybe for the listener, and I think this would answer that for them too, but is there advice maybe you'd give to like Joe from like 4 or 5 years ago who's just kind of in that space of, I want to talk about Jesus. I feel like it's maybe bouncing off the walls and nothing's being heard, but like, I don't know, is there something like you've seen now, experience that you just say, hey,
I guess the biggest thing is don't give up hope on yourself. Don't give up on yourself. Everything is in God's time. I know, in today's society, it is, I want it and I want it now. And if it doesn't come right now, well, then it's not meant to be. I had no idea where my life was heading as far as work was back then. I had no clue. I like I said, I had that feeling of wanting to do, I wanted to pass that along, but I didn't know what to do with it. And I just kept praying and praying and praying and praying. And I had no, like I said, I got that job doing plumbing, and it was like, why am I doing this? Like, it was just, I agreed to it before I even really knew what I was saying yes to, and I didn't know why I said yes to it. And now I know. And it's just, don't give up hope and just listen. The amount of times that I am sure God has tried to speak to me and tell me, like, hey, look, I got this. Relax. My own fears, anxiety, whatever it is, says, oh, no, I got to figure this out, and I got to take this on myself. No, I need to stop, and I need to listen. I need to know. I need to hear him. And if I won't stop talking, I'll never hear his voice.
That's good. I love it. Before we wrap it up, we should have done this at the beginning because you've mentioned a couple times. You're married. How long have you been married?
Almost 13 years now.
13 years.
Nice.
Your wife is Nicole. She is on staff here in a couple different roles.
Yeah. She's in the daycare and helping co-run the women's ministry.
Yep. So she's a fantastic person, and like everyone in this room, you married up. She's out of your league, so well done.
Oh, yes.
So good job. Winning.
Yeah.
Two awesome kids.
Yes, yeah. My son is 8 years old, and my daughter will be 4 on the 10th.
Awesome.
So, yeah, she started preschool this year and just won't stop growing.
Well, I'm a little further down the road, and sadly, they don't stop growing. They just keep growing, and then they leave you and break your heart. So, no, that's how it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
I don't have to leave it, but it's how it's supposed to. I don't have to like it, but I know that's how it goes. So,
Right.
Well, listen, Brock, I don't know if we can get the link to Freedom Builders, put it in the comments, but we'll make sure to get that posted for you so it's easy access.
Yeah.
And we are just super appreciative of your time. But more than that, thank you for your heart. Thank you for being an example that we all get to watch. And we follow so much of what you do, and you are setting a great pace for so many people as you follow the Lord into this mission. We'll continue to be praying for Freedom Builders. It's one of our ministry partners here at Bayview. And just excited the way God has been using and will continue to use you guys in a huge way.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So
We
thanks for
really
being
do.
with us today, Joe.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We'll have to have you back sometime.
All right.
So
Look forward to it.
Awesome. Hey, well, this is Chris and Andrew and Joe. And thanks for being with us on the Bayview Podcast today. And we will see you next time around.